please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Good afternoon, you're watching Halftime Report. I'm Sumaira Abdi and with me is Nigel D'Souza. Nigel, good afternoon to you. It's been a rough day of trade. There's no other way to say it. We're still down about 0.8% for the frontline indices. Look at that, the Sensex still down about 280 odd points. So from the lows, there's definitely been some bit of recovery, but we're still trading with a lot of significant cuts. I mean, look at the Midcap index, 130 points down. The Nifty Bank now down about 340 odd points, and even the Dow futures is down about say what 0.5%, 1% now. And Asian market also, there's been not much of a respite, I think, barring the Shanghai.
I think, Sumaira, we should pull up the Shanghai market intraday. Early morning, when we started off at around 8 a.m. odd, that market was under pressure. So you just pull up the intraday chart, you'll see there's a substantial recovery over there. And for us, Sumaira, we're looking at around that 10,586 odd mark. Remember, that's the mark from where we bounced in today's trading session. So traders really, they would be happy if they can go ahead and protect that level on an intraday basis. Another important thing to look at, Sumaira, is the breadth of the market. In the morning, there were only 100 stocks that were advancing. Currently, there are close to around 500 stocks that are advancing. Remember, in the last couple of days, you've seen quite a big sell-off. So some of these bounces will be used to sell into. Now we have close to around 500 stocks that are advancing. In the morning, it was 100 to close to around 1,900. So that at least has reversed a tad bit. And we are seeing some bit of green on the screen. So, Mera, I went safe. I went to the red tie. I think, it's going to be quite difficult to end in the green today. But clearly, in fact, we have seen a bit of a recovery after the sharp correction we have seen from around that 11,130 odd mark. A lot of companies that are coming out with their set of numbers today, and over the weekend as well, we did have quite a few companies that did come out with a set of numbers. On that note, let's get chatting with the management of Vinati Organics. That's the stock on our radar. Remember, the company posted a rather subdued set of numbers in the third quarter. The performance seems to be impacted by a shutdown at one of its customers' plants. The margins as well have declined, owing to higher raw material costs. To understand what's going on then, what's the outlook going ahead, we have with us Ms. Vinati Sarafa Mutreja, Executive Director of the company. Hi, Ms. Mutreja. Thanks so much, ma'am, for joining in today. Let's start off with what is the reason for the subdued margins in quarter three, while revenue growth remained below expectations?
See, one of the key drivers for revenue, IBB, isobutyl benzene, which contributes about 20% to our revenues. The largest customer for IBB has undertaken a prolonged shutdown, but that is actually for a good cause for us. They are debottlenecking their capacity and their consumption in 2019 should increase. But because of the expansion plan, their shutdown got prolonged in Q3 as well, and so the offtake for IBB was a bit low. Also, we export IBB to China, and some of our Chinese customers did face closures due to the environmental reasons. That is why IBB sales were quite lukewarm in Q3, and that is the reasons for contracted margins as well as less than expected revenue growth. Having said that, ATBS has been on a very growth spate. Our competitor for ATBS has exited the business, so ATBS volumes are very strong.
Okay. So, Vinati, by when can we expect an uptick in margins? And besides, the shutdown of one of your clients, was there any other reason for margin compression?
See, we will see increased offtake starting Q1 of FY19. Also, one reason that I should mention is our raw material prices are on an upswing. As crude prices increase, some of our raw materials, especially acrylonitrile prices, have also gone up in Q3. Now, we have follow a pricing quarterly lag. So, our end product prices would increase by Q4 and Q1 onwards. So, that's again a reason where you see optically slightly lower margins in Q3.
Vinati, let's keep things very, very simple. What is the revenue growth and the margin outlook for FY19?
Sure, we expect volume growth into about 10 to 15% in FY19 on account of ATBS as well as IBB. Our new products will come on, butyl phenols would come on stream in FY20 and PAP post FY21. Margins expect similar margins in the range of EBITDA around 25% or so of revenues.
Okay. So you have about 100 crores in cash and you have free cash flows about 200 crores a year. So could you give us some sense of what's the capex plan that you have lined up for the next few years?
See, we are investing close to 240 crores for butyl phenols, which is a derivative of IB and phenol. Now that project would come on stream by end of FY19. So we are going to use about 200 or 40 crores we've already spent, so 200 odd crores in the next 1 year. PAP we will start somewhere in next quarter, and that will take about 2.5 years for 2 years for commercialization. So over a period of for the next 2.5 years, PAP is a 600 crore capex. So we plan to invest about 850 to 900 crores.
All right, Vinity, what will be the payback period for the slated capex that you're talking about?
See, for most of our investments, we have an internal policy. We look at a minimum ROI of 15%. We usually end up with doing projects with 15 to 20% ROI, which basically means a payback period of 5 years, 5 to 6 years max.
All right, Vinity, thanks so much for stopping by and, in fact, giving us all those details. The stock has come off marginally from the low point of the day, but the last quarter, in fact, was impacted by one of their customers who had a bit of a plant shutdown, as well as Vinity was telling us, raw material costs have spiked up, and that's what's putting some pressure on the margins going ahead as well. But let's get straight to a CNBC TV18 exclusive then. We understand that Tata Steel, JSW, Piramal Bain have submitted bids for Bhushan Steel. Ritu Singh joins us with more details on that. Ritu, over to you.
Nigel, Bhushan Steel, as you are well aware, is one of the most priced catches, under the NCLT proceedings right now, and therefore there was an expectation that a lot of bids would really come in for Bhushan Steel. But now, in the final day of closing of the bids, which was Saturday at 6 p.m., only 2 players submitted binding bids, aside from the employees of the company itself, barring the promoters, and those are one Tata Steel, and the other one is JSW in a consortium with the Piramal Bain's Distressed Asset Fund, Vedanta and ArcelorMittal, both of which were conducting due diligence, surprisingly have not submitted bids. Now, sources say that ArcelorMittal's holding in Uttam Galwa could have made it ineligible to bid for this company, and therefore that bid did not come in. Vedanta still remains a mystery why they did not submit bids. Given that there was an intense competition in this, the valuation is also expected to be very good. The liquidation value of Bhushan Steel is about 15,000 crore rupees, but the sustainable portion of debt was about 26,000 crore rupees, and therefore bankers are hoping that any bids that come in will be above that value. Of course, bids will be open tomorrow, that is the 6th of February. But aside from that, the bankers are also going to invoke the personal guarantee of the promoters of Bhushan Steel, that is the Neeraj Singhal family, to recover some more portions of the due. We wrote to all of the players concerned. A Bhushan Steel official confirmed that the employees have submitted a bid barring the promoters. ArcelorMittal said it remains interested in the distressed asset space, but it has not bid for Bhushan Steel. And Tata Steel also confirmed that it is constantly evaluating opportunities, although it did not really name Bhushan Steel.
Just a quick clarification. The banks that have exposure to these companies, how much have they already provided for?
Well, Nigel, under NCLT proceedings, RBI mandates that banks, the minute they take the company to NCLT, have to keep aside 50% provisioning on the account. So, of the total debt, 50% would already have been provided for by all the banks. Now, if we assume that the haircut is in the range of, slightly higher than that, say 60-70%, then the additional 20% or so would have to be made up after the resolution is done.
Perfect.
All right, Ritu, thanks very much for that. So as of now, what we do know is that 2 firm bids have been submitted, one by Tata Steel and the other by JSW India Resurgence Fund. The Finance Minister Arun Jaitley completes almost 4 years in office. Network 18's editor-in-chief Rahul Joshi caught up with him to talk about the various schemes announced in the budget, including the tax on long-term capital gains.
जेटली जी, इस बजट का गेम चेंजिंग ऑफर जो था, ये नामो केयर के रूप में आपने इस वक्त सामने रखा है। आपके ऑपोजिशन पार्टीज का कहना है कि ये इन्होंने सिर्फ एक जुमला है, सिर्फ 2000 करोड़ इसके लिए बजट किया है। अब सुनने में आया है कि आपने इसमें 12000 करोड़ रुपए की बात की है, तो ये एडिशनल 10,000 करोड़ और कहां से आएगा?
देखिए, इस बजट में मैंने एडिशनल रेवेन्यू मेजर्स की बहुत गुंजाइश रखी है। 24-25 लाख के बजट में से 10,000 करोड़ निकालना कोई इतना असंभव काम नहीं होता। स्कीम शुरू की जाए उसके लिए 2000 करोड़ का मैंने प्रावधान किया है, लेकिन एक बार उस पर जब ज्यादा साधन चाहिए होंगे तो हम बजट में से देंगे। अब जो मैंने 1% सेस लगाया है, 11,000 करोड़ मुझे वहां से मिल रहा है। लॉन्ग टर्म कैपिटल गेन जैसे ही आगे बढ़ता है, पहले वर्ष में मुझे 20,000 करोड़ की उम्मीद है, और अगर दूसरे तीसरे वर्ष तक हम पहुंच जाएं तो जो एग्जेम्प्टेड इनकम थी
जी,
वो 3,67,000 करोड़ थी लास्ट ईयर, तो 10% के हिसाब से 37,000 करोड़ तो वही बनता है। तो इसलिए अगर सरकार साधन चाहे तो साधन इसमें जुड़ सकते हैं।
Well, remember, you can catch excerpts of this interesting conversation all through the day and the full interview at 5 and 10 p.m. today.
And in an interactive session with the Ministry of Finance today, Hasmukh Adhia, the Finance Secretary, says that the STT rate remains to be at 15%. Let's hear him out.
The security transaction tax is a very small tax per transaction, and the income that we get out of it is very, very small. It's only 9,000 crore. And I would like to believe, although I don't have the exact data, that there are more number of short-term transactions rather than long-term transactions in the stock exchange. And so the income of this 9,000 must be coming more from short-term transactions rather than long-term. And we have made no change in the short-term transaction rate. We have made it 15%. It remains at 15%. In spite of putting a nominal 10% tax on long-term capital gain on equity, it still remains a very subsidized regime, both in terms of period of holding, which is 1 year instead of 2 years for all other classes of assets, and in terms of lower capital gain tax rate of 10% instead of 20%, which is there for unlisted equity as well as for immovable property. So it still is a subsidized rate. It's very unfortunate that our move came at a very wrong time because of global markets also going down. In fact, some people are, because people don't know the global market, but there's a strong connection of all markets now. The MSCI all country index of equity market went down by 3.4%. All countries index went down by 3.4% in the last week, and particularly in the last 2 days, Thursday, Friday. Now, if the entire country stock market has gone down by, entire world stock market, so that index has gone down by 3.4%, naturally it will have its own ripple effect on Indian stock exchange also. So it is not the LTCG effect.
Get you stock specific then, some of those stocks have taken a sharp knock. In fact, Vakrangee continues to remain in lower circuit. We spoke to the MD and CEO of the company earlier today. He said that all the allegations of manipulation are baseless and there's no formal agreement was reached between Vakrangee as well as PC Jewellers. Let's hear him out.
We have not received any communication either from Stock Exchange or Security and Exchange Board of India. The rumors of involvement of company in price and volume manipulation are completely baseless and factually not correct. Before we tying any tie-up, we do the soft pilot. And post successful pilot, we do the formal agreement. So in the case of PC Jewellers, we had a soft pilot in the certain outlets, then we do the soft testing in all the outlets. After successful of the soft pilot, we do only formal agreement. When we start the soft tie-up, we have to put the logo in the outlet also, not only the presenter. Till now, we don't have the formal agreement, so we remove the logo.
All right, and lots more corporates speaking with us this morning. United Breweries posted good numbers in Q3. They were below estimate on all parameters, but overall it wasn't a bad set of numbers. We caught up with Shekhar Ramamurthy, the MD of UBL, to talk about the industry growth trend as well as their outlook ahead.
We did foresee mid-single-digit growth for the industry, and that's what we are seeing this year. And of course, we have had a little better growth than that at about 10-12%. Our market share is around 52%, and so we haven't lost share. Now, we have actually added share, because if you've seen, we have either grown with the market in the last 2-3 years or grown ahead of the market. We engage in a dialogue with the government, with the excise, with the political leadership, and finally we were able to impress upon them that such steep hikes are neither beneficial to the state exchequer nor to the industry. And we impressed upon them it's important to find a win-win situation where everybody gains. So in the final form, the tax hike has been more moderate. Of course, prices have gone up by about 10 to 15 rupees a bottle, which is fair, and beers are back in the market, and so all is well.
Well, in fact, Cummins as well posted a rather weak set of numbers in the third quarter. Poor exports, lower margins, in fact, impacted their results. We spoke to Mr. Rajiv Batra, the CF of the company, earlier today, and he says that FY19 will see a growth of around 5 to around 10%. Let's hear him out.
The industrial markets where you're finding tailwind from government investments, and our own efforts are taking more share from that market. That's doing very well. We are looking at least, compared to last year, a 15 to 20% growth in those markets. We are looking at flat to 5% on domestic, which is down from the 5 to 10%. So we're in the range of 0 to 5. Following year, we will come back. And at this point in time, we're looking at between 5 to 10%.
And Escorts is a buzzer in trade. Companies reported strong tractor sales in Jan, and also the fact that there's a big push for agriculture which has come through in the budget this time around. So we caught up with Bharat Madan, the CFO of Escorts, to get a sense of the margin outlooks now for FY19.
We definitely had given a guidance of further improvement in the margin next year in FY19 by about 100 basis points. So now whether that takes us to 15% or beyond or less than that, I think we'll have to see how the year ends. So this year we expect hiring on tractor, we should be ending somewhere around 13.5% EBIT margin. So maybe we'll be still slightly short next year, but let's see. I think it's depending on how the industry performs, so maybe we can really reach there.
All right, then Nifty is picking up again, so good to see. In fact, we've recovered a tad bit from the low point of the day. SBI, that stock is doing quite well. In fact, there's a bit of a recovery we're seeing out there. And even from the broader markets, we were talking about nearly around 500 stocks that were advancing at the start of the show. Guess what? Now it's moving to around 600 stocks that are advancing, for around 1,500 that are declining. So maybe, in fact, as the day progresses, those stocks, they're trying to get closer to each other as well. A few stocks that are doing well in this are, well, JSPL, that's recovered a considerable bit from the low point of the day. And a couple of these high beta stocks as well. Adani Power, Reliance Power, both of them, they've seen a bit of a recovery on an intraday basis as well.